Our next presenter, he was a little mysterious to me at first. But after our first conversation, he made a lasting impact on me. There will be people in our lives, for whatever reason, that we will always remember. He is one of them for me. Please welcome Mr. Edwards.
On June 4th, 2018, I walked into work like it was any other day. I came in, picked up my keys, checked in with the captain, and started walking down the hallway back to the academic school. As soon as I got in the hallway, my vision started to blur. My vision blurred, I got dizzy, I had to lean up against the wall to support myself. Security staff responded and escorted me over to the facility hospital. When I got to the facility hospital, my blood pressure was 160 over 100, my heart rate was 110 beats per minute, and I was sweating profusely, something Sergeant Bell unfortunately found out for himself as he put his arm around me to escort me into the hospital. I had shooting pains down both of my arms, classic heart attack symptoms. When waiting for the ambulance, my blood pressure calmed down a little bit, heart rate started to subside. By the time I got to the hospital, everything was completely normal. EKG, CT scan, blood work, all normal. The doctor walked in and said, "Mr. Edwards, I think you most likely had a panic attack." I was embarrassed. I was mortified. I don't get panicked. I'm a man. I work in a maximum security correctional facility. I've got ice flowing through my veins. I am the portrait of calm under pressure. Look at this beard. I'm a man. Six-pack abs, rugged chiseled features, Adonis reborn. Now, obviously, most of that isn't true. The truth is that I get affected by anxiety as much as anybody else, but as studies suggest, probably even more so. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody in this room, but literally every human being associated with incarceration is more likely to be affected negatively by mental health issues. For incarcerated individuals, 23% will have a major depressive disorder and suffer from higher rates of suicide, mortality, self-harm, and anxiety. For those of us that work in prison, 1 in 6 will have a major depressive disorder. 1 in 5 will abuse alcohol. And we commit suicide at a rate higher than any other profession combined. 50% of us will have some form of anxiety disorder. Think about that. It's heavy. Those statistics are heavy. Whether staff or inmate alike, what we need to realize is that we all physically exist inside of this place together, and the effects on our minds and bodies are significant. So let's talk about anxiety for a minute. The statistics I said before said 50% of the people associated with incarceration will have some form of anxiety disorder. But we don't really talk about it in prison. I made those jokes before about being a man, but outside of this place, I don't act particularly macho. I don't try to come off with this false sense of bravado. But inside of here, there is this sense of agro-masculinity that just seeps into you. This thing that tells you that if you let your walls down even for a second, people are going to see your weaknesses and they're going to try to exploit them. It makes me feel like I can't tell my coworkers that, yes, some days I'm nervous walking into this place. That's true. It makes me feel like I can't tell the officers I work with that outside of here, if I hear shouting or a door slams unexpectedly, my chest tightens right up. It makes me feel like I can't tell my boss that crowds bother me now when they never did before. Like, what would they think of me? Would I still be fit to work here? Like, the anxiety that this place takes on our bodies is significant. And if you don't find a release or an outlet for that anxiety, your body will literally find one for you. For me, that manifested in a panic attack, a physical release of my body for all the anxiety and stress that I had built up in my system. So what I'm going to share with you today are some strategies. Okay? Unfortunately, there's no cure-all, no quick fix, no panacea for anxiety. What works for some don't work for others. The first thing that I chose to do is I go see a counselor now. People don't talk about it. It has a stigma. But I see a counselor. You know what we talk about? None of your damn business. And that's the point. A counselor is someone completely removed from your situation, someone who can view your situation objectively and can give you legitimate strategies and advice on how to handle your anxiety. Now, I realize for me, as a staff member, it's easier to seek out counseling than an inmate, someone who's incarcerated. But for me, in my opinion, and I'm not a professional, the best counseling doesn't always have to come from a professional. I get counseling regular from friends, family, and coworkers. Sometimes, for me, the best counseling comes from a 22-pound dog named Seamus. Yep. Oh, look at him. He doesn't even know what an applause break is. I'm going to tell him to get one. He always listens, he never complains, and he just tries to kiss me when it's all over. But the thing about it is you need someone objective to talk to you about that anxiety, because if you can't talk about what's actually bothering you, what's actually inside your head, you're not getting that necessary release, and it's a necessity working in this place. The next thing are hobbies. A lot of people exercise. Obviously, that's not working out for me. But what I will say is I have hobbies that really worked out for me, but I don't want to intimidate anybody here with them. My hobbies are sophisticated. They're highbrow. You have to be intelligent. And I don't want to leave anybody in the dust when I describe them, so try to follow along with me. The first thing I do is I play video games. This may seem childish to some, but video games for me offer a very necessary and important form of release. They give me a distraction from the rigors, from the present, from everyday life. For some people, this comes in the form of reading a book, or watching movies, or journaling, exercise, doing artwork, whatever. Having a distraction from the present is important, and even more so in this place. What I've found is that we don't often take the necessary time to check out of our own lives because we're so worried about everything going on around us. For me, that checkout is video games. Now, some of you laugh, some of you might think it's childish, but once I started openly talking about playing video games in this place, people came out of the woodwork to talk to me about games. You'd be surprised how many people play them. I remember one day I walked into work, I was walking down the corridor back to my area, and a rather large officer waves me over to him, and he's kind of looking over his shoulder both ways, says he needs to talk to me, and I got nervous. I'm like, something wrong? Did I screw something up? And he leans in real close and whispers, he's like, hey Brian, do you play Pokemon? Because I need somebody to trade with. And I was like, whatever, nerd, and I kept walking. No, of course, yeah, it's be open about who you are. It's important. Another hobby of mine that really worked for me is cross-stitching. I cross-stitch. Not exactly something you would associate as a manly thing to do, but it really works to center me. Following a cross-stitch pattern brings me a sense of peace. It silences the noise that occupies all of our minds. Sometimes I combine my love of video games and cross-stitching into a 1-2 punch of anxiety and ass-kicking relief right there. See that? Look at those guys. Right there. That's from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Any nerds out there? Right there? Yeah. It might seem ridiculous to some, but I was afraid to talk about this for years. Talking about anxiety to me feels dirty. We're engineered to not do it. To me, it feels like you're complaining that your caviar is too cold or that Audi you just bought is too expensive. In here, we're engineered to think, oh, you got a case of the worries? Let me get you a tissue. But the reality is that all of us are affected by this and we just don't like talking about it. Whether it's a sense of masculinity or a sense of wanting to seem together in a place like this, or just being embarrassed about the things that you have going on, we don't like talking about it. What I challenge everyone here to do is if you live, work, or volunteer in a correctional facility is to talk openly about the anxiety you have. You're going to find that not only will you get help, which is good, but you're going to see the people around you start to get help too. Ever since I started talking about it, I've seen people that I've referred to go see counseling, to go get help. Now they are referring people to see counseling and get help. They are talking about their anxiety and more people are coming to talk about it. Ironically, the only surefire way to become more comfortable with yourself is to talk about the things that make you uncomfortable. Take that, talk to somebody about their anxiety, and try to make somebody else a little happier. Thank you very much.